Topic for our project is exploring educational outcomes. I, Nishtha Wagh, would be taking you through the initial stages of our analysis, followed by Pratham Patel and concluded by Krishna Rajput. Let's understand the problem statement for our project. In today's competitive world, many of us aim to pursue higher education. Multiple factors play an important role in this decision making. Higher cost of education, the uncertainty and in the job prospects post graduation. Also, this has given rise to popularity in online degrees, as online degrees cost lower than the traditional on-campus degrees. To understand the impact of this online education towards the job prospects post graduation, we have formulated our hypothesis. These are our two hypotheses we'll be exploring in our analysis. First hypothesis would be entirely focusing on the distance learning, uh, impacting on the employment rates post graduation. The null hypothesis we formulated for this hypothesis is there is a no significant difference in post graduation employment rates between traditional on campus programs and the students learning through distance education. Focusing on particular institute, we have particular institutional factors for the impact on the student success. We'll be considering the factors like ownership, net tuition fee, instructional expense, basically the factors um, which makes a institution favorable for a student success. Here, student success, we are defining by the median of earning post completion of graduation after 1 year and after 4 years. 4 years because we are also focusing on the long-term success of a student. Let's explore the data we used for the analysis. Here, we are using the data collected by US Department of Education. It contains features like the cost of education, the loan default rate by the students, the average default rate basically, the employment rate, and graduation rate. So there are many features of every institute at a campus level uh, on an average level. Here we have considered academic year 2019-2020. Which has a dataset comprising of approximately 6,000 instances across 3,000 features. This would be a foundation for our in-depth analysis. Let's go through the processing we did on the data to have a robust statistical analysis. Initially, we started with finding the missing values in the dataset and also the privacy suppressed values. There are many universities which do not want to public their information, hence the information for those institutes are privacy suppressed. We have also identified the number of unique values for each variable. This identification is done because because the missing values and the privacy suppressed values have a zero information value. Hence, we'll be removing the variables which has 27% null plus privacy suppressed values combined. Also, we'll be removing the constant variables as the value throughout the dataset would be constant and they won't be contributing to the analysis as much as the other variables. We are also focusing on the ID columns as ID columns have like really less information value. Post removal of all these features, we are left with 455 variables. For these variables, we'll be replacing the privacy suppressed values with null values as privacy suppressed are unknown values. They give same trend as the null value. Basically, they are missing values. And for our further analysis, we have converted all our features into float. To further visually understand this data, we have plotted distribution of multiple features across. multiple features such as distribution of the institutes across ownership. There are three types of ownership: publicly owned institutes, private and profit institutes, and private and non-profit institutes. The distribution of the institutes across this type of ownership are almost equally distributed. Next, we can see the distribution of institutes across regions. We can see region 5 has maximum number of institutes. So for example, a student wants to get an admission in region 9. The student would have lesser opportunities if he aims to pursue education in the region 5. The next are the key features we selected after in-depth analysis of all the features, and these are the features selected by us. Now Pratham Patel would be explaining these features in detail.
Hello guys, I'm Pratham Patel. Moving on to the features selected after our analysis, we have selected and tested 6 features against other 2 salary features. These 6 features consist of distance only, which means if a college, whether a college offers an online degree or a traditional degree. Secondly, the control feature. It consists of 3 values which shows the ownership, that is, if the institution is public owned, private owned, but non-profit, and or is it proprietary owned. Uh, Next, the next feature, it represents tuition fee per full-time equivalent student. There is one more feature which shows instruction expenditure per full-time equivalent student. There's one more feature which shows student to faculty ratio. Then the last feature among the 6 feature includes the regional feature, where we have divided the whole United States into 9 different regions. The 2 salary features consist of median earnings of students working but not enrolled after first and 4 years of completion of their graduation. Moving on to the pair plot. This is a pair plot of all the features, and the diagonal plot represents the individual features distribution, while all the other plot shows the correlation between 2 corresponding features. Moving on to this plot, this is a distribution of median earnings after 1 year of completion, and over here we can see that it is not exactly normally distributed. This shows that typical median earning is around 40,000 US dollars. Moving on to the methodology of our whole process, and we have followed this path where we initially checked if the sample size was sufficient. If sample size is large enough, which was, uh, it was enough to portray more to portray our analysis more accurately. Once those features were identified, which I mentioned earlier, we defined the kind of test to be performed. Uh, those were parametric and non-parametric test. So before we selected the kind of test to be performed, we had to make sure that 3 of our assumptions were met. Those included no autocorrelation, which means the feature of interest are independent. Secondly, all the quantitative features are normally distributed. And to check that, we used Shapiro-Wilk test, which is a test for normality. The third assumption was we performed equal variance. Well, it can be interpreted as the feature of interest belongs to the same population, and to check this, we used Lenneve's test, which is a test variance homogeneity. Over here, we found that all the quantitative features were approximately normally distributed. Although the second test of variance homogeneity failed, hence we used the combination of both parametric and non-parametric test because for most of the hypothesis we were using categorical features. Well, in parametric test we performed we used independent t-test, uh, one-way ANOVA and regression correlation. And for non-parametric test, we used Mann-Whitney U-test. Well, moving on to the experiments and results, that would be explained by my friend Krishna Rajput.
Hello everyone, myself Krishna Singh Rajput, and so we have our hypothesis number one, which basically deals with if remote learning and traditional learning are one on the same in terms of the earning, so both short term and long term. So we used the distance only feature and tested it with the median earning with 1 year, after 1 year, and 4 year as well, to capture both long term and short term financial success of the students. And specifically, a reason for using the median salary instead of any other measure like mean was because median is basically robust to outliers. And here we performed t-test, Mann-Whitney test for with both of the features, and we found that yes, there is a significant difference in terms of the traditional and online degree. Uh, so moving on to the hypothesis number two, in this hypothesis we tested multiple factors like college dependent factors which can directly impact the student's success, and the success, as we mentioned, measured by the median salary after 1 year and 4 year. So uh, first factor is we use the control, it is the ownership factor, and after performing t-test we found that null, we rejected the null hypothesis, which means that yeah, there is a substantial difference if a university is publicly owned or private non-profit or proprietary in terms of earning after 1 year. And moving on to the second factor, which is if the college is the main college, main campus, or a branch campus, because we can see there is a higher preference for the main campus among students, and it is um, supported by our test as well, because we performed the same two tests for here. One is parametric and second is non-parametric Mann-Whitney U test, and we also found that there is a difference in long-term success. So moving on to the third factor, here we can see that there is a positive correlation between tuition fee and median earning after 1 year. So we can safely say that colleges who provide good salary are usually taking higher fee. Um, moving on to the next part, if there is this inexpend kind of feature, which essentially means that how much a institute is expending on a student, and yeah, it has a direct impact on both short-term and long-term employment, which is captured by 1 year median salary and 4 year median salary. And we used a ANOVA test for this. And lastly, we use this student to faculty ratio, and for this we can clearly see that there is no actually no relation with the median earning both in short term and long term, which is quite intriguing to us. uh, okay, so coming on to the conclusion and benefits part, we found that yeah, this type of education actually influence employability and long-term financial success. Ownership and tuition fee also have also influences employability. Student to faculty ratio has no influence in short term and long term, which can be interpreted as the ratio is already optimized, which is a good thing. For the next again for the next part, the next two factors, which is expenditure and main campus, they also have an impact on the income as well. So these findings can carry substantial implications in the realm of financial outcomes, both at the educational institutions and students as well, because many stakeholders and educational institutes can optimize these factors, which can potentially lead to increased post-graduation employability. And also students can gain a valuable insight by looking at the average salaries, median salaries, and all the other factors, and they can make an informed decision.